Hello, so for this video I'm going to be showing off my final castle. I have 43 parts in total and over 100 scenes. Yeah, I know, that's a lot. So I'm just gonna display the parts, show you the scenes. I'm not gonna go too much into detail with the scenes. I'm kind of just gonna talk about how I made each part, like kind of like the process behind it. Let's get started. So the first part we're going to is the keep and the fort building, which are my first two parts. I actually made the keep first out of everything, which is probably why it looks the roughest. There's definitely some problems with it. It was like my first thing I built, so I basically just made it with the square tool and the push-pull, just a lot of work on that. So if we go into the inside, I made the inside after I built everything. So this is the first floor stairs from the fort building. Here's a dining room, basically like a grand hall, but smaller. I have Llama Llama Red Pajama and that picture that we all took that one day, I don't remember when. Going to the second floor, just have some bedrooms, and I kind of just showcase everything with these scenes. Gladiator Mental Floss, toilet in the bath. You know, it wasn't like that high tech, so don't have too much. Here are the stairs. Stairs took me a while to make. It was just like rectangles. I think I like made a rectangle that went down from here to here, and then like I made rectangles off of that and pulled on them. Third floor is a dungeon. The keep has 4 floors in total. I actually read that the dungeon was on the higher floor so people couldn't escape. So that's what I have here. I actually have prisoner faces, and they're my brother and my dad, so I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to the 4th floor stairs, same thing. I just wanted to show off like the stairs. Is a supply room. I also read that they had supplies like bows and arrows at the top, so the enemies could not get to it. And here's just a back view of the keep. Shows off the windows too, which I basically just made by the rectangle tool and filling it in with glass. Going to my third part is the well. Just really simple, made with a circle, push-pull tool. I used rectangles for this, and then I did the rectangle you have to use with 3 points for the well. Going to my fourth piece, the grand hall. I made it separate because I felt like it wouldn't be that great if I put it in the keep, because the keep I already had ideas for, so I decided to make it separate. It's basically the same thing as everything else, just square, push-pull tool, and then I did use the angle tool for the roof. Going inside, I have serving tables and a food table, just push-pull, paints, rectangles, all that. I made a sleeping area because I read that the servants would sleep there every once in a while, so these are supposed to be pillows. And then I also have a little bar. I just made this with the circle tool, and I push-pulled everything. Going to my fourth part is the kitchen. I also decided to make this separate because I feel like I wouldn't do it justice if it was inside the keep. So, going in, again, it's literally the same as everything else. It's just a square with the push-pull tool and then angled roof. So inside of the kitchen, everything here is man-made. There's no components in here. I have a utensil wall, which I basically made by just circles to pull out where it's supposed to be the utensils. Those don't look the best, but I couldn't like really make them detailed that well. So you could just imagine those are like spoons and stuff like that. Chef's area, that's supposed to be like a little fireplace. Basically just use the angle constraint and pushed it back so I could fit a fireplace in there. Wine barrels, same thing. I made squares, pushed them back, and then put circles on the wall right here and just pushed them out. Oven, basically the same, you get the idea. And I have the serving tables. So now I'm gonna go to my fifth piece, which is the barracks or the soldiers' homes. Basically, I just made one house design, the square, pulled it, and then I made a line and used the move tool to bring it up. And I just, did a simple window, door, and I just copied and pasted that right next to each other, and then deleted the walls in between. So it was just like a big, like, kind of looks like a hotel type thing. So going inside, I made a toilet. Back then, like, the toilets weren't that great, so this is a chamber pot basically, but I decided they should have a different one from everybody else because, you know, there's like a lot of soldiers in here. Then I made some beds for the soldiers. That's simple, just squares and pulling it up. I added a few pictures with the import tool on the file button, and so I put in some pictures that we've talked about in class before. So Battle of Thermopylae, Sun Tzu quote, The Art of War, Gladiators, and Alexander the Great. I just thought that'd be like appropriate because we've talked about it in class. Finally, I made a fireplace. I drew it on the wall, and I added a fire component in here. And I also added a bath. I guess that's how they looked back then, like they had to go get water from the well or the moat. So that is it for the barracks. Now going to the village homes. Just the same thing as everything else with the barracks, you know, just simple. And then I just copied and pasted into everything. I do have insides for these too. So I have the fireplace and the bath from the barracks. I just copy and pasted that. Like, I made it myself, but I just copy and pasted it so I didn't have to make all of them. Here's some beds. You know, just simple, explain that. Put a picture of you, who is the lord of the castle. And finally, I made these parts called chamber pots and nose bags. They would go to the bathroom in a bucket and then would throw it into the moat. And so they had like a little bag that had flowers in it. That's a component. And just so like it won't smell bad because I had to keep it in there all day. And that's what the inside of every house looks like. Now going to the church, I made this one, as you can see as I go to the stained glass window, it kind of has like two different parts. So I just made two different rectangles and pull them up. Stained glass, I just made a rectangle on here and I made lines and colored them all in. I did that for the same, except I used circles to color it in, and I put a little cross for like some decoration. We go inside. These are both components. It's like a little coat hanger and a piano. Then I had the priest chair and the Eucharistic table all set up with components. These are not components though. And I basically just, you know, pulled it up because I wanted to show off a church. This is the Stations of the Cross. That's just a picture. I imported that. Made some pews by just making two rectangles right by each other and then pulling them up a little bit differently. We're done with that. Here is the public chamber pots. It's a public bathroom and a garden. These two are not parts. I just decided to keep it in there for like decoration to really complete the castle. Next part is the stable. Made this really simply. Rectangles, pulling them up. I deleted the parts here, and then I did the follow me, well, not the follow me, but the move tool right there. I put in some horse components as well to really just top off that. Now going to the barn. Barn was super easy. I didn't put too much thought into it, only because barns aren't like high level. So just a rectangle, pulled up, literally like everything else. Inside, I just put in some animal components, and then I put fencing around it by just making a rectangle, using the offset, pulling that up, and making it a fence, painting it the fence. Now we're going to my next part, which is the inner wall, and I just decided to do a close-up of it to show you how it's built, how it's made, parapet type thing, and how tall it is. I'm also showing you the wall walk. Now, I heard the wall walk was like in the parapet, by the parapet, so I just like made it evident that there would be people walking across here. It's a straight view, in a straight line, so people could walk. Next, we just have an overview of the inner ward, which is another part, and I did an isometric view as well, just so you could see everything inside, see the life of the castle. So now we're gonna get kind of boring because that was like all the fun stuff. I have the parapet coming in next. So I just show that I did it on the wall towers. I did it on the inner wall. I also did it on the outer wall, but like just to show you how I did it. Next we have the Barbarican. Also the gatehouse. I decided to label this the Barbarican because it's the entrance to the inner ward, not the gatehouse. That's not the entrance to the outer ward. Really simple design, literally like everything else. Murder holes, this was another thing I added. Those were really simple. It was just, you know, put holes through, use the select tool, and then hit delete on the keyboard. you know, just used for soldiers to dump stuff, like dump lava and rocks so people could get hurt, their attackers could get hurt. Now we're going to the wall tower. Same thing as everything else. I used the circle tool when I was first building the wall, and I put a circle on the edge. Then I used the offset to make the thickness, and that's basically just how I used the wall and how I did the wall tower. Now we're going to the armory, which is right here. So this is the only building I have on in the outer ward, and you know, just like the barn, just like anything else, it's really simple design. On the inside, I just put rectangles and pulled them up. I used the lock component. That's basically just gonna have, you know, bows and arrows, stuff like that, for people to store their stuff in. Now we're going to the curtain wall. I understand that the curtain walls were on all the walls, but I decided to show off the curtain wall to show where the archers would be as well, and just to like show a true curtain wall that is completely represented correctly. Here are the archers, those are components. Now we're doing the outer wall. I just decided to show this side to show you what it would look like on the left and right side. Shown a close-up, which is covered by the siege tower, but it's basically just, you know, parapets, all that. Next I'm going to the flanking towers, which are basically like wall towers, except they are taller, so it is more difficult to attack. And on the flanking towers, I also have matricoins, I believe, matricollations. Those are places where the soldiers would just drop their arrows, drop stones, and this would be perfect because the attackers could get hit by those. Now I'm going to the arrow holes, which is really simple. I just made a rectangle, pushed it back, and then made some lines here. And the defense would shoot arrows at people with some protection. I'm just showing you an overview of the outer ward. Yeah, you know, there's nothing inside, which makes sense. So now I'm gonna go to the gatehouse, which was just kind of blocked here, but I'm gonna move it a little bit. Basically, you know, same thing as the church kind of design. Yeah. I have the polis, which is also blocked. I'm gonna try and move that in. You know, just some lines. I used the square and the arch tool to make these, to make that like arched look. I'll show you that right now. And yeah, it just shows off the heavy metal door. Next, I'm going to show you my conical roof, which I made using I used a triangle, like moved it around with the move tool. Basically like how I did the stairs, that's how I did these, you know, these towers, just thought it'd be cool to show off. Now I have the drawbridge. This was really simple, just a square, a rectangle, extrude it, you know how. A moat overview, I did this really simply. I just kind of did some lines, try to make them as curvy as possible, and I just did it on the outside of here and painted it with water. Next is the ditch. This was a little difficult. I had to go underneath and actually push that down. Like there was a difference there. One of the final parts for the defense for the castle was the fixed bridge. You know, just an extended part of the bridge so it would meet somewhere. And then the allure, I just did a curve. I did the arch and I just pulled it and made some parapet on that. And that was basically like an extended part of the bridge, the fixed bridge, where people could, where the defense, you know, have extra archers. Final two parts for the defense, final three. My coat of arms. I made my coat of arms by importing pictures. I did the Schaefer and Hopkins because that's my parents' last names. And I just wanted to show off my two sides of the family. And then I did this like fire design. It's one of my favorites from one of my favorite artists and stuff like that. And I think it's just a really cool, it like kind of fit the whole like castle thing. Next I have my flag, which might take a second to load, but I just did a nice little color combo. And then if I zoom in, that's actually the picture of us all doing the Buddha hand symbol. I thought that picture just really ties it all together. And here are the holes the defense would have made in medieval siege. And so now we're getting into the siege, which as you can tell has a lot of components, but we'll just get into that. So first I have some ladders. Really simple, you know, just rectangles, make other rectangles, delete them. And I just wanted to have soldiers kind of climbing those just to show off the whole, you know, like realistic side of this. I also had some ladders on the drawbridge, you know, just to make it a little bit more realistic. Sorry, just had to make sure it's still recording. Have the siege tower here. I have components in there. You know, this took a little bit of time to get these, like, this design here, because I had to, like, I don't know, just like kept deleting, but, you know, just use the curve, like the 3-point rectangle, and I just copy and pasted that to the other side. Like, I made it, but I copied it. Next I have the battering ram. This is a bit short, but I feel like it makes sense for people to push it. On the inside, I do have that metal right here attached to the battering ram for people to go against the wall. And I also put like a little walkway that would have been made like from sandbags, from wood, so the soldiers could get across the moat. One of my final pieces, the tortoise, you know, it's slow, but it's, you know, basically just like the battering ram with the triangle, and then added a square, rectangle, and then I added this siege tower type design here. It's just to transport soldiers. It's slow, heavy, had a lot of soldiers around it. Probably my favorite siege weapon, the trebuchet. This took a little bit of time. I did a design based off the book, a lot of rectangles, precision with that, but overall I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think it looks pretty realistic, and I think that was probably the best siege weapon I did. Now I have the mantlet, which is basically really simple, just a rectangle pushed up high, and then two smaller rectangles. I actually have soldiers hiding here because that was used to hide soldiers. Finally, I have the Mongol, whatever. That was used to launch rocks at the walls, and basically like the trebuchet, just not like the large thing, large arm, just a smaller arm right here. And then my final scene is just the left side, which is just like the right. There's nothing new, it's just more people. But that is it. That is all my pieces, and that is my final castle.